Hey everybody, this is Peter with Plumbing Express. Welcome back to our Homeowners Frequently Asked Questions. We try to do these all in 5 minutes or less. And so today we're going to be talking about the Flushmate system. What you may have run into before is you have known that there's a problem with your toilet, you hear it running, or there's some kind of issue, and so you take off the lid of the tank, and what do you have underneath here? But lo and behold, I've got this great big black plastic tank, and that doesn't look anything like what I'm used to looking at before. So let's get into a little bit of some of the components here so I can explain this to you. But the basics that we're going to go over a little bit later on is it's going to use compressed air to actually give more velocity to the water to help flush. Since we're talking about getting into 1.6 from where we used to be 3.5 to 5 gallons per flush, this 1.6, 1.28 and lower, they've got to come up with some ways to help drive that water and the solids that are in the bowl of the toilet out so that it's working correctly. All right, so here you see that we have the Flushmate system. Down around here over on the side where the water comes in, there is, down here on the bottom, there is a connection place where the water actually comes in. It has a small little pressure relief valve there. It actually has a filter and relieves any excess pressure. And then here as we get to, you can see the follow where the handle comes along here to where it can trip the actual Flushmate cartridge there in the center. And then we finish up over here where this is actually where it allows air to come into the system. So air is allowed in. There's a check in here that stops water from coming back out again. But that's very important because the whole thing is when you flush this, it has to allow air into the tank to be compressed by the water. And just to easily show you here, I'll back up so that you can see. Now what it's doing that you can hear, if I put my finger over top of it, but what it's allowing it to do right there is pull air into this entire tank before it's being filled up with water. And as the water fills back in, it starts to compress that. We'll go ahead and head down to the classroom so I can actually show you a drawing of this so it makes a little more sense. Since we can't do a cutaway of the tank itself, it wouldn't work that way. So now that we've gotten a chance to take a look at what it actually looks like, let's go into how it is that the Flushmate system actually helps your toilet to flush better. A big component of this is each of the toilets that are designed to use with a Flushmate system, the bowl is manufactured specifically to work with the Flushmate system to be able to actually use the pressurized water flow to actually flush better. So let's look at how that works. So we've got the Flushmate tank. For lack of better words, it looks a little bit like this. And has our connector piece on the bottom that goes to the actual tank itself. So you're going to see that black tank inside your actual China tank. And in the top, there is that hole where the actual round cartridge goes that I showed you guys earlier. So what happens is, as you flush the toilet, there is a small device up here in the corner and it allows air in. So when you flush the toilet and you actually have used the trip lever over here to trip the rod that causes this to flush, with the water out, it fills in with air. And so you've got air that fills back in around this whole entire area. Once it's filled with air, there's a check valve as it starts filling with water that closes back off again. And now the air that's in here, the water that's back filling in around it, it starts to press up. So you have the water filling back in and it starts to continue to compress the air because the water isn't compressible, but the air is. So as it rises up, it eventually gets to be where however much pressure is incoming, so we've raised up the water level now, however much pressure is incoming, that's how much pressure it's going to exert on that air. So if you have 55 psi in your house, roughly somewhere in that vicinity, it's going to be pressing up against that. Now, on the inlet side right here, so where the water actually comes in, there is a small regulator and there's actually a filter as well. And what that does is it makes it so that it can stop large particles from getting in here. And it also makes it so that if it is to overpressurize, it'll actually bleed some of that off into the tank itself, and there is a hole in here that's designed to allow it to actually bleed down into the bowl. And so that's actually part of what would go into the China tank. So the China tank goes around the outside of this, and there is a hole made, so if this relief has to drip off, it will actually go down to the bottom here and go down into that. Now, it shouldn't be relieving water into the tank on a normal basis. So if you do look down inside there and you see water sitting down here on the bottom of the china, not the black tank itself, but water down around here on the edges, that does mean that's a sign that there's an issue. And we do want to make sure you reach out to a plumber so they can take a look at this and figure out what the problem is. Whoa, Barry's letting us know that our 5 minutes are up. We're trying to keep these to 5 minutes. Now we know that we haven't covered everything yet on the Flushmate system, so what we did do so far is we talked a lot about how exactly it works. What the next session is, we want to finish up just with a little bit left of how it actually finishes working, the flush part itself. And then we want to get into what you as homeowners can do to actually take care of these. Just talk a little bit about the manufacturer makes and stuff as well. So right now we're going to wrap up with this video. We will be back with the second half of our video on frequently asked plumber questions on what about the Flushmate system, that black tank that's inside my given toilet tank already.